This is the first episode of a 4-part mini-series on the Kruger National Park, found in South Africa. Created in 1898 as the Sabi Game Reserve, it has been, since its inception, for the protection of wildlife. Now, 125 years later, it's 360 kilometres long, about 65 kilometres wide, and covers a total area of 19,623 kilometres, slightly less than Wales. We initially saw a few familiar faces and heard familiar sounds, but soon things started to get a little more exotic. The smaller birds we saw were spectacularly varied in their coloration, behaviour, habitats, pretty much everything. The lilac-breasted roller and blue waxbill are immediately obvious, but despite its vibrant mask, the black-collared barbet is more secretive, and you have to try quite hard to find one. And the sombre greenbill really is very well camouflaged for the environment. Unfortunately, it's also very loud. Although, it must be said, a solitary sombre greenbill doesn't hold a candle to the vast colonies of weavers that can be found around Skukuza camp. But their ubiquity does at least offer an excellent opportunity to observe their impressive nest-making skills. As impressive as the small birds can be, the real stars of the show are the larger birds. This marabou stork, unfortunately, was not inclined to give a close-up, but this northern red-billed hornbill definitely was. And this southern yellow-billed hornbill not only allowed us to film it, he also sang for us in the process. But the real heavyweights of the hornbill species that can be found in Kruger are the ground hornbills, which have the nickname thunderbirds or rainbirds as they are often seen around rain and thunderstorms, during which they hunt. Unfortunately, these beautiful birds are endangered in much of their range and listed as vulnerable worldwide. But if we're handing out prizes, the vultures of Kruger National Park clearly take the gold, simply in terms of numbers. We couldn't tell why this massive flock of at least 100 individuals was gathered the way they were on the riverbanks, but it was an impressive sight nonetheless. Our time in Kruger National Park coincided with the short rains, which are typified by brief but impressive thunderstorms. And for many species in the park, this is the time of year for either making or having babies. The five-lined skinks, which we've actually met previously in Egypt, were on full and vibrant display, as were the black-necked Agama, whose similarly beautiful coloration surely cannot have been beneficial for camouflage. And on the topic of poorly camouflaged, this flap-necked chameleon crossing one of the roads in Kruger surely takes the wooden spoon. Park rules dictate that the animals always have right of way, which means that if there is a chameleon crossing the road in front of you extraordinarily slowly, you have to wait until the chameleon is across and safe. This rule even holds true for insects, such as these dung beetles, which are, well, living up to their name. Although it has to be said, the first few times we came across these insects, we were more than happy to take the time to observe their rather unique behaviour and normally quite impressive control of dung balls that are frankly enormous by comparison to them. Of course, some creatures always get respect, although thankfully they rarely stray from their preferred habitats in the river. One of the most prevalent prey species in the park is the impala, and here you can see an oxpecker picking insects off one. While this seems like a beneficial arrangement for both parties, it can have its darker side. Oxpeckers are known to keep wounds open so that they can drink the blood of their host animal. As this was the short rain season, the impala were doing what they do best, which is attempt to make more impala. Among the males, this means a great deal of posturing in order to determine who has the privilege of fathering the next generation. Although, from what we observed here, these were mostly younger males who really didn't have a great deal of hope in this regard, and were mostly either practicing for future ruts that they would be taking part in, or sorting out their own personal pecking order. While for us it was amusing to watch the males carrying on, the females were also keeping a watchful eye on them, as one of these ruts could easily injure a very young calf, such as is shown here. While impala make up the bulk of the biomass for the prey species in the park, the physical mass of the prey species, at least within the antelope family, definitely swings more towards the wildebeest. And weighing in at almost 300 kilograms, they're nearly 4 times the mass of the impala. While their horns are impressive and are present in both sexes, they are generally quite docile creatures outside of the rut, and accept things like torrential downpours with a quite commendable stiff upper lip. At up to 1,500 kilograms, over 5 times the mass of the wildebeest, the hippo, who we've met before in Kenya, are very firmly in the mega herbivore class. Being in a much more protected environment, these hippo were far more relaxed, and we were able to take advantage of a bird hide near the camp in order to catch this beautiful sunrise over the water, along with its resident river horses. More than quadrupling in mass yet again, we have the largest terrestrial animal on the planet, the African bush elephant, with the males weighing up to 6,000 kilograms and 4 meters tall at the shoulder. The tusks, in particular, of an adult breeding male can be up to 75 kilos each and 2.4 meters long. Moving on from the heaviest terrestrial animal, the only way left to go is up. And at nearly 6 meters tall, a giraffe is pretty much as up as you can go. Although I should point out these are no lightweights either, with an average weight of up to 1,200 kilograms for an adult male. Historically considered to be a single species with 9 subspecies, current research indicates that actually giraffes should be subdivided into 8 distinct species. From there, the only real place to escalate is up the food chain. The variety of terrestrial predators in the Kruger National Park is really quite impressive. But, strangely, I consider one of the headline species to not be the big cats, but actually the hyenas. Despite their reputation as cowardly scavengers, hyenas are social, intelligent, and incredibly accomplished hunters. Yes, they will take a carcass if it's available, but so will most predatory species, including the noble lion. The lions themselves, of course, are still beautiful. And they are also taking advantage of the boom in prey species numbers during the short rains and producing babies of their own, some with more enthusiasm than others. Normally, lionesses are very protective of their cubs, in very much the same way that impalas are with their calves. However, this young individual was fully visible, although very near to some dense scrub that the family could retreat into if they needed.